I'm very proud to be able to present to you Arnoldo Cohen, a wonderful, wonderful pianist from Brazil. I'll tell you just a couple of facts, and you might think that I got the wrong paper somehow, and that I might be talking about somebody else, because this pianist here has a degree in engineering and a degree in violin, and his first professional musical activity was as a violinist in the opera orchestra in Rio de Janeiro. But he's also played wonderful concerts all over the world, and he's now on our faculty here at IU. So we're
Thank you very much.
Happy.
Thank you.
So you'll have Liszt,
Dante.
yes.
Okay, which in any particular order you prefer?
Well, I think Liszt
First, Dante?
Yeah, the Dante, and then the Scriabin Fourth, and then
12th Rhapsody. Okay, very good. Just a good afternoon. Lovely to be here. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to teach you how to build a swimming pool. That was the maximum I could do as an engineer. I could build all the way down. So why don't we start? We have until 3 o'clock, so it would be around 40 minutes for each, around that. So why don't we start with the Liszt Dante Sonata, and then we move on. Thank you. What's your name?
T1 Lee.
T1 Lee. Okay, T1. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. How old are you? 18. Okay, it's absolutely wonderful. Even if for in our days, 18 in the career, it seems to be already, I wouldn't say old, but very normal. But I think it's quite extraordinary just to have an 18-year-old young men just playing with such a professional approach to the music. Well, but I've been asked to come here just to discuss some points in music which, might be personal, but the important thing in music for me is that when you study something, you go and you see what's written as score, but the word interpretation for me means what is basically what you think the composer meant by writing what he wrote. It's not simply like a computer that's piano, you press, is a piano. And I could see through your performance, you're absolutely an excellent student, an excellent observer of what is written in the music. But sometimes I felt somehow the wish that you could have more wishes about how to do what you were doing. I don't know if I'm getting too complicated in what I'm saying. And I can give you some examples. You have a very wonderful notion of phrasing, and you know that you should not start a phrase with a big accent. For instance, param, pirim, param, para. You start that less, pa, with the direction. But now, he wrote pesante. My question is, how is your pesante? What do you think should be? Is not, is a crescendo, so a crescendo, make crescendo. Is not, sometimes I felt some, perhaps concerned when you're playing here to play right. And I would wanted you to play much more in an individual way. And I'm not saying that you have to move, you have to jump on your seat. I will give some examples. That's fine. Okay, how do you like the piano? Is it a good piano? Do you like the piano? Can you control well the piano, you think? What I felt, for instance, in the beginning, I felt that you could connect the music much more. In music, I'm talking about concepts. In music, I think everything you do is an inevitable consequence of what you've done before. Even, and sometimes very important, when you have a rest. For instance, you have this ta-dum, ti-dee, ta-dum, ti-dim, pa-bum, pi-pi. And not. Ti, pum, pa-pi, ti, ti, ti. Like if you'd have a bow, ti, papa, so pi. Papa is like a conductor who does not let emptiness in terms of emotion or meaning. Everything has a meaning, and you have from the beginning to the end, you have to keep the audience like in a thriller, in a film. So sometimes I feel that you do everything fine, but what about you? Talking about this relation with the public, I think I always say there's a big difference between the idea of being an amateur and a professional. Amateur, for me, there's nothing wrong and nothing pejorative, nothing bad about amateur. Means from the Latin is loving. So if you're an amateur, you love music, you can have even another profession, you can be a dentist, get home in the evening and enjoy yourself. The most important thing when you are an amateur is that the pleasure of listening to that music you love. Okay. When you are a professional, put inverted commas in everything I'm saying, there are people who are coming to listen to you. So, in my experience, they don't care for you. They don't pay to see you feeling. They pay for them to feel. So the piano you play, or the pianissimo, is not for you, it's for the guy who's sitting in the last row. So many times, what you have to exactly be, for you to be successful, you have to create before, like as I say, like a conductor. I think one of the solutions to achieve that is to be sure that you feel what you're going to play before you play. And not like an amateur that you feel only when you listen to the music. How nice. When it's like a conductor, that's what he feels. This is a consequence of what his intentions. So my advice for you in general, as you being such a good player, is to be much more convincing in your ideas, in your what sound do you want? Be sure what sound. It's not more phrasing. I think, for instance, concepts, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. The difference between phrasing and crescendos and the dynamics. Phrasing as we talk, we're talking in phrasing. A crescendo is, as I talk, so the decrescendo and the phrasing of end of a phrase, you can say, but it is a decrescendo. But it's not a decrescendo. This is a phrasing. Decrescendo would be decrescendo. So this, I'm talking about sophistication, because I think you are already prepared to face lots of sophistication in your music. I think you have reached a point where I think you have to open some doors and windows and get into a much more complicated world. Okay? So before I go on, I want to just make sure there was not an accident at the very end, your left hand, and are you aware of what happened here? Can you just do that here, just slowly, because I heard some important note from just both hands. Okay, and then next, go on. Right hand. Go on. Okay. My advice to you, be careful, this is a G natural here, okay? For what you did now, I would even risk talking about your practicing. Do you practice slow, medium tempo, or fast, normally, for instance? Something like that, this part. Slow. Okay. So sometimes it gives me the impression that it's difficult for you to practice slow and play note by note, because it seems that you only know it very fast. Okay? Okay. I was worried about this G network. Be careful, okay? And there were some things like I can see afterwards. Just not very important, but you know, rhythmically things. Okay, I enjoyed very much. Something here. They wired me. Okay. Okay. Why don't you go a bit from the beginning, just for us, just to work a little bit. Let's go. Okay, for instance, there's a little slur here. When you have this, I could see your hands. If a conductor conducts pa, 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 the orchestra plays ta, 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 right? If he does ta, ra, ra, you play ta, ra, even ta, ra. You try to change the bowing right. How do you want those notes? This is, you have ta, ta, ti, ti. You did. That's how you're playing. That's how you're conducting your piano. You know that very well, that if you do that in the piano, it's that. If you do, you do that. So sometimes I feel that you should treat the piano a little bit more, not as a piano, like an orchestra. And your arms, especially your arm here, should be the conductor. Because it doesn't make any sense. If you want ta-ra-ra, you play like karate. Go. So, of course, you need sound. So, cello, ti, ting, papi, pa-pum, ta-da, and then pa-pum, 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 ta, ti, ti, tom, tom. And then surprise. Almost as the sun come in. And then, I understand that you pa-bam, pa-pa. Be careful not to exaggerate, as I said. Pa-bam, pa-bam, pa-pa. So this is, in general, these are the things that I would need some 5 to 6 hours to work with you, this piece, because there's so many small details. We don't have much, but I want trying to get the general ideas for you, because I think you have to be a better, I would say, teacher to yourself, to decide what you want, think. You have a brain, you have a very good brain. Another point for me in general in the piece was, concerns your pedal. Again, I know that the original pedaling by Liszt are there, but I think that so many things have changed since Liszt's time in terms of instruments, acoustics, and many things. And I think we have to take that in consideration. Again, the idea of interpretation is that in our days, in this 21st century, you have to read and you have to show and you have to share with the audience what they should feel about that. Just because it's written a completely, full pedal, even if you don't hear anything, even if it's not clear for people's ears, you're still there. Oh, he wrote a complete, a full pedal. You have to understand why. And sometimes you have to make adjustments depending on your ears. And sometimes I would say that you have to review. I wouldn't say the pedal, but I think you have to review the sound you're making, here with this piano. Perhaps in a different place will be different. For me, there is no such a thing as one pedal only, like, in the Waldstein, in the third movement. Okay, but what did Beethoven want by using that pedal? What sort of effect? And this is what we have to look for, and we have to try to achieve, and this is what I've been talking all the time with you, I felt, in your playing. Try to understand what he meant by writing that. Not literally, one pedal, I don't know, you can't hear, Liszt wrote, so too bad. Do you understand? This is basic, pedal in general. I would advise you to review that. In all this part here, the beginning, this is, I know, I think that's fine, but I think you have done that, forgetting everything the rest. You see, when you play that, you want only to show that. And sometimes I felt I could not hear even the harmonies. Because could be anything. But I could only hear the top note. So I would like, it's difficult, especially because of the low register here. So even if he writes one pedal, he's a typical, I don't think you could, in nowadays with an instrument like this, unless you are, in such a horrible instrument in the Sahara Desert, and then I think it will work, this, because it's too much, you cannot hear. And if you cannot hear, I don't think this is only the effect, because there are harmonies here, so this is very good. We don't have much time. Again, I think I would advise you also, in a piece like this, a sonata, quasi fantasia, when you have so many different sections, like in the B minor sonata, like many romantic pieces, like in Schumann, when you have so many different sections with double bars here, and so the difficulty is for me always, is to create this sort of unity that for them is the same piece. It's not, now here it starts another one, now it starts a different thing. So I would be careful, especially with the pulse. And this is also that in this kind of music, because of the fantasia, the fantasy, I felt that you could use pulse sometimes to help you in this idea and differentiate two basic things in music, which for me are totally different. One is rhythm, I call rhythm, which for me is the mechanical. And I call pulse, which is basically the reason for music to exist, which is pulse, which has to do with our hearts. If you put your heart together with a metronome, you're going to see your heart is wrong. Is it? So, and the great art in dealing with the pulse is following your heartbeats in the sense that you're not making necessarily accelerados or ralentandos. Because when we breathe in a rubato time. You don't breathe. Presto. So there's always a balance in our breathing, as in the music. When you have, for instance, for instance, I did not go by metronome. He writes dolcissimo con intimo sentimento. Intimo is private, you know what means. I was somehow astonished when you just changed the pedal. I would not do that because just to keep the atmosphere, but you have to have a very sophisticated pedal. First of all, the sound. And not take it completely. Just you have to just fade away the sound and not change too much. And when you have here, and the note, it's not melodic. This is just a change in the harmony. Here. Imagine you just conducting an orchestra. The recitativo, again, just to give you another idea of a pulse. When you have to, you play literally to, ti, ti, to, ti, to, to. This is not recitativo. It's too fast. So really, when you have a imagine a I need 3 minutes more. So I remember many years ago, I had the fortune to be with Benedetti Michelangelo, great pianist, I'm sure you have. And one of the things that stayed very much in my mind, by the way, I have to make a parenthesis. I remember Peter Bithell in a recital of Michelangelo in the Barbican when he played, I think, the Gaspar at the very end. And I remember, perhaps you don't remember, we were not together. And I think it was in this Carbo. The sound was absolutely incredible. And everybody, lots of pianists, I think only pianists in the hall, everybody looking to each other says, oh, can you hear what I'm hearing? And I remember your eyes. I'm talking about what sound we're having. I mean, about Michelangelo, I was very impressed with one very small thing he told me. I went to his home in Switzerland, and he said the problem, he was complaining about pianos, especially his pianos. But I said, but maestro, these are your pianos. Oh yes, they are mine, but they're very bad. And he would cancel concerts because his pianos were bad. So he said, when I play one note, you know, the sound of that note comes down, and the next one, it has to be the continuation of the sound like this. What you hear normally in the pianos, the sound comes here, and the next sound comes here. So what I try to show you here is sort of connection between, and this is one very important concept which I advise you to, when you have here, not T. So as if you have a cello. First, this is absolutely magic, as if I mean, the sun comes into the sun comes in like you're in the inferno. This is almost hope when you have to, ti, after this recitativo. To, I felt, okay, I have to sing. So this is what, again, I'm just trying to concentrate all my advices or my ideas to you about, because I think you are very clever, very, very good musician. Things like here, I felt completely different things here. I mean, so now, okay, now I'll start something different. So this is every time now you played the 3 times the same part. Copy and paste, copy and paste. Say things different in a different way. For instance, you can ti ti ta 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 di di to ta tim pa pam ti ti ta ta ti di to di di to di pa pam to tom ti ti to ti ta ta di di to. Improvise, do something, and not play the same. I would like put yourself, your ideas there, which this is almost a recitativo, and then ta tom pa, and how we connect pam pam pa 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 pa. I felt almost almost romantic. This is an atmosphere. You have to define the atmosphere. And then I felt that everything is very comfortable for you to be able to play all notes, and the keys, you hit the keys right. Do you understand? So we could talk much, much, much more about that, but I decided not to work specifically in one thing, but give you a sort of a general advice for you to work. Sometimes ideas that you develop because are much more important than just playing. Our fingers are tools. You have to play, or you have to work, my advice. Work like a conductor. So how do I want this? How am I going to do that? Decide by sections. How can I put? So open your world much more, because I'm sure you can play piano very, very well. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. Very, very good. This is incredible. Very good facility. Everything is had enjoyed very much. Okay, do you have your on? Okay. Okay, that's fine. I would say that there's so many very good things about your playing, in terms of your great facility and you no fear. But I think there's a few points which I would advise you just to be a little bit more careful with, which I would call administration, bureaucracy, musical bureaucracy, which and the music bureaucracy is just the screws are sometimes loose. You have to do, and you have to do that in your practicing. I don't know how you're practicing. After many years here, when I first came here, I never had in England big studios of 15, 18 people. And when I came here first, I had to deal with so many people. I really was scaring for me. And it took me some time to realize that I was not responsible for the bad practicing of students. Sometimes they don't practice because we are the result of what we eat. For instance, I have to eat less sugar and drink less wine, for instance. But if I keep doing that, I'm not going to lose weight. The same, when you play as what you do is a result of your work, of what happens in your practicing room. So my advice is to all of you, and also to me, is to pay attention in our practicing what we do, what are. I developed, you know, with this, since I arrived here, I was really very confused. How could I organize people's mind in terms of having good practicing? I came to a very simple conclusion that, for instance, when you go to a concert, you like it or you don't like it, you can explain why you like it or not. Not because, I'm not talking in terms of music lover, I love it, and that's it. You like it because, his sound is incredible, his pedal is fantastic, oh, the pulse, oh, the emotional approach. I mean, you can explain his pedal. And I have developed some sort of idea, which is happening a lot, is helping a lot students, which is practicing thinking about different and isolated elements in a period of, in a phrase or in a period of music. So you have almost like a checking list, they call the checking list, which is basically all elements the music requires. I mean, to be what you consider would be good, would be beautiful, or whatever. So what are these elements? Of course, sound. What sound? I mean, dynamics, balance between right and left hands, phrasing, direction, pedal. There's so many things. The style, of course, what you're going to do, pulse. So, and this, and you're clever, and I can see by your playing that you understand all this I'm talking about. So, if you do that, perhaps that will help you a lot in your practicing, how to sort out all these elements. And nowadays, you have any phone can record what you do. You can check, because many times we are not aware of what we're doing. Okay, having said that, sometimes at the beginning, the first movement, I felt that eighth note, pari, para, sometimes you turn that too clearly into a 16 or even sometimes a 32nd note. Para, I think, I'm not I would not consider myself a musical Taliban in the sense, I'm not fundamentalist in the sense that it's much the contrary. But, I mean, the idea, I mean, you can have your idea, but based on some, not changing of what is written, but adjusting what you write to what. If you want to go, just go a little bit more, but not, so, and I would like also the pedal sometimes is not only the function of the pedal is also to generate a more beautiful sound because of the harmonics, and I think and the pedal is very important in colors. I mean, I'm sure you have read about Scriabin, and Scriabin even tried to convince Rachmaninoff that each tonality has a different color and blah blah blah. Rachmaninoff said this nonsense. In any case, but the pedal is very important in achieving the sound you want. When you have this, and also when I mentioned so how do you want that sound exactly? Let's try a little bit. Yeah, but like a conductor, I understand that they do pa. It's like the bow starts not pa, it's not fast bow, but G or pa, not. Let's try. Not to get together.
Yeah, I know.
Good. Now, T. Both. But the left hand goes down and the right hand goes. Dom, de, ro, ti, ra, ro. You go to the C sharp, right? And the left hand goes this way. Let's try. Again. Ti, tom, ti, tom, tom. Yeah, I think, for instance, this diminuendo use, I think it's too exaggerated. Because ti, ta, da, ro, di, you lose the decrescendo, again, how much decrescendo? Ti, I think this ta, ta, ta. And he also puts an accent on the A sharp. What is an accent? So, because perhaps of my past of playing violin, an accent in the violin is not always what pianists think it is, just, pa, pa. The accent can be expressive accent most part of the time. So, and sometimes if you can ask them, the violin teachers ask an accent done by the left hand. That means the vibrato, ta, ro, ti. So, and the violin can do it. They can get a little bit more sound after the attack. We can't. So that's the reason why, you have to be very careful. Especially because of the duration. When you come here, the sound is gone. And also what I've said before, pata is going to sound like this, as it did. So I'm just giving you examples, very sophisticated little examples, that you can just put a magnifying glass and it works all the time at anywhere, right? That you can just have more reflection on your sound. Let's go from the beginning, please. Good. Yes, now. Yeah, but I think, what's the direction? Talking about Rachmaninoff, he always said that, every phrase, there is a point where you're going, or 2 points or 3. But when you have ti, ti, tom, ti, yeah. Ti, 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 to, di. Ti, 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 yo, ti, ra, di, ti, yo. And I feel ti, ra, di, ti, di, ra. Again. Ti, di, ra, ti, ti, tam, ti, ti, do, do, ti, ti, do. For instance, this, you play it as a staccato. This is not staccato. Ya, pa, 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 do, di, di, do. And not, because you have a slur there. It's a slur with a dot. It's not. Tom, do, ti, di, do. Pa, 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 pa. With voglia, do you know what voglia in Italian is? Desire. So, ti, 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 do. And also, you have the left hand kept. And you're just making a big rest here in the left hand. You're doing ti, do, which is not. The bass is still there. So, can you have this together with your hand? Left. Yeah, yes. Again, if you do ta 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 pa 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 is one thing. Ta ti ti to tem, tu ti ti tu ti ti, and not tu ti ti tu ti ti to pa 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 pa. Oh. To, ti, ti, to, ti, ti, ti. Yes. Ti, tum, ti, to, more. Ti, tom, to. Very good connection. Tom, tom, ti, 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 to, to. The same. To, ti, to. Yes. Be careful not to rush, because the same here when you have, when you, do, pa, pam, pi, pa, da, ta, ti. Be careful with the pulse here. And left hand, tam, pi, ta, ta, ti, 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 ta. Ta, to, 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 ti, to. Ti, tom, tom, ti. Okay, for instance, you have a, do it. You're left to such a big silence. Ti. Hold the pedal. No, you don't have to be together, but don't. Yes, ta 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 tom ti to tim ti. The same. Yeah, but you have that beat. Ti 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 ta ti ta ta ti to to. Ta di da da ti da da dum. When you have a sorry. You can make it a ti ti to ti ti. Make a sort of a pi pa pa pi 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 to ti 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 to to ta ti ta ti 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 to to ti ti ta ti 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 ti. Okay. Be careful when you go from 3 to 4 and not to do pa 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 pa. It's just one more. Pa 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 pa. So and not pa 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 pa. Good. The same. Good. Don't change pedal. Yes. Be careful when you have rests, not to interrupt the music. Ta. Like, now we start again. No, you don't start again because you didn't stop. Okay? Let's go on. Tom, to, tum, to, tom, go. And okay, very good, very good. Now was much better. I mean, the whole thing. So, and be careful with the sound and the connection, because I know that this it's horrible. I know. So how you do that so try to do with not get out from the keys too much, but almost one movement. One movement. Yes, exactly. I think it's much easier and lighter. And yes, and yes, yes. It's much easier when you just on the last triple eighth note, just because this is not, look, just help with your, yes. So here you can, ta ta ta, pa 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 pa. I feel that yes, this is going to be very helpful. I believe that from the comfort, from the technical point of view, I think there is a basic rule for normal people. I'm not talking about people like Marta or that, perhaps in my view, I mean, she could have studied in the North Pole with an Eskimo. She should be playing as well as she does. I mean, in the sense, it's something so natural. But I believe that you have to be always very careful with your physical comforts. And I think at the piano, many times we forget about few very important points, which is the alignment of the arm with the finger. So if you are like this here, but if you are here, you are here. If you are here, you are here. So basically, in general, as a rule, every finger, every note, every key you play, you have a different position of your arm in order to generate the comfort. So you play here, so if you have to play here, you go a little bit to the right. Sometimes the fact is that we don't pay attention to that because, oh, this is very close to this, so I don't need that. So then you don't need that from that here. So you end by doing that in the same position of that. So, and this is the problem because and then the fingers, and you end up by making the finger look for the key and not for the arm taking the finger to the key. Yes, that's it. Yes, and in many of your playing, I was just saying that would be something that can help you a lot from for you to have more comfort in and more flexibility, and that would give, of course, more flexibility. Okay, let's go. In the second movement, I found that the pulse, the idea or the concept of pulse, what pulse you want here, when you have where you go. How are you going to conduct that? You are the conductor of your music. So be very, very sure and wish before you play what pulse you wish for your music. This is one thing. And the second is the pedal. I was just seeing how you use the pedal. And I've seen your left foot tapping a lot. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're not tapping today. This is a result of what happens in your practicing room. Coming back to what I started saying. And so, if you're aware of that, I mean, be careful with that, because again, the pedal is an art in itself. You should practice pedal. And the pedal should not, sometimes I can see your right foot going like this and beating the pedal. So always here. So it's difficult. To play piano is quite difficult in that sense. So be careful. And finally, the advice in terms of pedal, sometimes I know that you want to have a more, I would say, transparent sound. So you don't use any pedal at all. And I don't think that would be the case necessarily, because there is one type of pedal that you can always use in this case, which is rhythmical pedal, in order to generate always quality of sound because of the harmonics. Pom, 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 and pum, pum. You take completely off, your foot from the pedal. So do not use and practice the pedal, and you're going to see that you can have transparency with a better sound and not using all harmonics of the piano. Okay, let's go a little bit for the second movement. You see that they have a life on their own. I know that. Don't worry about it. You're going to work on that. Okay. I think, for instance, look, for what I can see from the score, let's say, if I don't know the music, tiri pa 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 piri pim pim para pim piri rom piri pa 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 pari pi pari ro. I would like to have, it's very clear. So if you prestissimo volando, for param pa 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 piri pim pari ro param pa 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 pari param patatarim pim pari. As one phrase, param patatarim tim piriro, taram patatarim tim pariro. One, param patim tiri. Every 2 bars, you're going to see I don't want to talk about structure and how the music was, because we don't have time for that. But I would advise you to analyze the piece, because if we know how the composer wrote the music, perhaps that can help a lot in how we're going to approach it. Okay? Let's go. Yeah, and I think, also, I would advise you in the whole movement. I know that I think you are very, very concerned about playing the notes, which this is half. But for phrasing, tam ta tam pa da da ta ti ti ta ti ti ta ti da di ti di ta di di do ti do di. So I don't hear. I hear ti ti ta ti ti ta ti da. I don't see connection, and especially you have the slur, you have the phrasing. So separate the phrasing is terribly important. How are we going to phrase? Tirim patatiri pi tiri tim parito torim pitiri torim pi torito pam paparam parara ti di ta di di do di do ti tirim papari ti ti do to torim ti torim ti do di ro pam paparam parara pam paparam parari. You have every 2 bar, paparam, and connection, and direction, and phrasing. So my advice is just sit outside of the piano in a sofa with a dining table, and study the music, sing, get a pencil. Write down what do you want with the music in terms of phrasing. As I said in the beginning, your checklist. How do you want that to sound? So, and practice by chunks, by sections, so that when you go there, when you see it, you know exactly what you want to do, and train that, and make your fingers obey to your brain. Okay? Unfortunately, we have to finish. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you. Very good, wonderful. Please, you can see it. Are you all right now? Finished? Very good. I loved many. You're extremely musical, extremely talented. I loved your personal input in the music. Was, you know, is a performance, which is all we want. Very good indeed. I think there are few things that I'd like to, that I'm sure you know. If I would start mentioning, but I mean, it's sometimes we basically know what we should do, but sometimes we don't remember to work on that. So my first, being a Rhapsody, of course, I felt that sometimes, especially in the first part or second part, the whole thing is a bit on the too romantic. You know, you always, you know, sometimes in the same phrase, you stop twice or three times in that phrase to do something nice, which is fine, but I think sometimes that you are in the border of interrupting, you know, the line and your musical speech. This is one thing. The second, I think I wish you just to have a little bit more tranquility from going from one section to the other. And especially in terms of sound, in terms of breathing. Sometimes you leave the sound. I know that in the piano you don't need breathing. You just put the pedal and you go, because you breathe outside of the music. It's not like a wind instrument or brass, or even, you know, with a string instrument, because you have the limitation of the size of the bow, so you have to change the bow. So here we can go on and on. But sometimes the breathing, if you'd be a conductor, you have everywhere, just sometimes you put, it's not something academic, but it's something natural and human from the music, I think. I mean, be a little bit more, with more tranquility. Another aspect which I would mention would be sometimes, because of your temperament or inside, I would say intensity, musical intensity, you sometimes don't control your fortissimo or the especially when you have chords, you go for it without, you know, shaping it without, I would say better, because you're extremely musical, is without thinking before how you're going to play. You just play it. So my advice would be just think about the sound, and especially sometimes I think you could be a little bit more careful with the voicing when you play chords, especially in a sort of low region of the piano. So you have the sometimes, as well as the pedal when you have the brrrr. As I said before, I mean, what, you know, I was there and I said, what does she want to say? I cannot hear. I know that I don't want you to, my advice is for you not to think what I have to play, but how I want to sound like. It's different. And when we play piano, I know especially playing in a atmosphere like this, situation like this, is the tension and one wants to play right, I understand. But, and I'm sure you are aware of that. Okay, so also I would build better perhaps the climax of the piece. Sometimes you have to hold a little bit here and there. For you, when you get there, you make an impact. Otherwise, I mean, because you say, okay, so what? Again, so what? So fortissimo. So be careful with just, you know, I don't have anything against suddenly you changing, you know, being a little bit more pianissimo here and there, because I think it's very beautiful. And this is a rhapsody, and you have the right in this style to have your own input. I don't mind at all. So why don't we go a little bit and work on that? Let's go. Go. For instance, here I felt ta-ta, beep, beep, beep. You still go here, you go into this C sharp. I think you start ta-da, pa-bum, pa-bum, pa-bim, pa-bim, pa-ba, pa-bum, pa-bum. Have always where you're going. I just forgot to mention something about your pedal. I'm a bit obsessed by pedal, I'm sorry. This is my problem. And sometimes I could see your foot instead of doing that. So for me, you lose the quality of your pedal, because if you put that, you don't know where you want to go to the back, how long you want. So things that I would advise you just to be a little bit more. And all this, again, as I said before, I would advise you that all this you have to sort out during your practicing. Don't make, the Carnegie Hall stage in your practicing room, and you imagine it's lovely to dream, but to play, play, play. Work, work, and work. Okay, let's try again. Okay, when you have here, so it's fortissimo, but it's a fortissimo that he writes, right? What he writes in the left hand, play the left hand. Okay, so and the next, when he finishes, is the same. If you do, you don't hear this one, right? So, see, and this is like, the balalaika, not. Look, my pedal, not. Baram. See if you can get that sound with that clarity. Try. No. Not. And then go pedal. Less left hand, otherwise. No. Right? Yes. Go on. Yes. Go on. Okay, okay. I think this is top, this top. Now, and not. This is a different instrument, right? When you have. Not. Be careful with the violence of that, because perhaps could be a cello eventually, or perhaps you can, but don't do a sempre forte marcato. Yeah, but no, I don't want. This is more. Don't make any of these notes melodic, or is harmonic. This that's the reason we don't. No. Enough. Because this is harmonic, and not be careful. The problem is yes, the problem is your arm. You're doing like that. Poof, you make an accent here. More left hand. Yes. Why are you changing pedal? Okay. Now here, this A is melodic. Tiram. So to ti. Now you have your left. You need your left hand there. Can you do that for left hand, and then why don't you hold? So I know now. I can't hold. That's. If you cannot, I would hold the D sharp and the C sharp, because you're going to play the F sharp after. So you have the complete chord. So the F sharp from the left hand, let's say you replace for the right hand. So do that. Pedal. Change a little bit. Yes. You don't have to change completely, so you can have the whole thing, but don't change completely. And again, what I said, pedal can be so. I got rid of the dirt. Instead of many times here. So when you just use the pedal, so, and this is one of the most difficult things for us to listen to the little dust in the sound, and then the pedal is so fundamental for you just to get the clear sound you want. And of course, that depends very much on the piano and the acoustics. So we can use completely different pedals in different environments and different pianos. Let's go. Go on. Yes, but copy and paste. Go to D sharp, right? Okay, now. Can we administrate that better? This, especially everything here. I cannot understand what's going on here in the left hand, and use a little bit of pedal less, more pedal here, and here, and so that you can hear. I would say that in all cadences by Liszt, in general, even classical, I think the best sort of template for you to solve a cadenza is to start slow, make an accelerando, go, and then make a decrescendo, or make a rallentando more melodic. You start melodic, you make a crescendo here, you go down here. So you can link this melodically with this what comes here. Okay, try it from here. Yes, but when but with here and sound, what I was talking about, left hand, see. You can hear the chords, you can hear the left hand. So even he doesn't write a complete pedal, long pedal. You can put pedal, but so that you can understand. Do it from here. Okay, now you understand. The harmonies. So you can para. You already hear too small. One of the things that happens very much in this music, even in Prokofiev, when you have a second sonata, you have 2 pages, sometimes 3 pages of crescendo. So, well, how can you do that? You are forte, sforzato, and then you still have a forzato assai. How can you do that? The only way you can do that is to eventually, I would say, put inverted commas, to cheat people's ears and come down. Perhaps param tirim param para para piri 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 para para piri piri para para pa pa pa. Come down, but in a sort of a musical way, not in a decrescendo. Para para para, not in this way. So pa pa pi pa pa, and leave the rest for the last 2. Try. Now you go. Let again. Do it from here. Yeah, but first when you have this, it's different from what sort of sound. How, if you're a conductor, you want pa or pa symphonic sound. How do you want? And depending on that, you play differently. So this is what I mean all the time. What sound, what articulation do you want? What's the speed of attack of sound you want? So if you have or pa, ya, the sound goes from here to there and not pa, like, you know, killed. Do that sound. Tom, pa, tom, tom, tom. Go on. You know what I don't like? Ta-ta, pa-pa, pa-pa. Right, because ta-dum, pa-bum, ti-tim, pa-bum, 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 pa-bum. I don't know with the right notes. Ta-dum, ti-tim, pa-bim, pa-bum, ti-tim, ta-dum. In this area, it's always better to bring the top note a little bit more, or the bass note that a little bit less. I would say, for instance, when you have this, so gets the cello more than the double bass. Instead of having this, so, ta, te, ta. Here. And so you have this sort of sound that almost as if you put light in the sound with this idea, for instance. So, all the time is always so more creative. Okay, let's try. I would like to hear a little bit from here, please. Yeah, now you lost your left hand, right? Yeah, Liszt has a very big hand, so then we have a problem here. Also, I don't know. I can't hear. The only way you can do, let me see if I can do this in this piano, is to change badly, really badly, the pedal on the E. And don't stay there too much, otherwise they will start listening to the dissonances. This is one of the tricks. Don't stay there too long. Just change. Now, more. No, but I don't and not this. Yes. ti, do, ti, do, dim, do. Yes. You see, the sound is completely different now. Can you hear it? So because you're controlling the bass, is like an orchestra, okay? Do it here. Too much. Yes, all pianos have limits. So if like people, if you do that, they scream. So be careful. How's the sound you can do beautiful on the E? Yes. Too much. So again, if you do if you want don't take that too literally. Yeah, but the thing is that I'm going to die out of breath. Tiri, tiri, paradom, body. Titim, toroto, totim, to, titididoro. Yeah, tararararara, not tarararara, taridididoro. Ta-tom, ta-dum, ta-dum, pa-pum. Yeah, when you have here. If you can do something more Hungarian. Yes, something like that. Always trying to get the rubato. When you torim, trium, triarim, torim, porom, don't take tempo. Tom, torom, porom, trium, porom, and then you're always compensating. Okay? We don't have much time. Here is the same. Here, the left hand, you have to be very careful with the pedal. Okay? Pom, 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 okay, you have to be very careful. A little bit more sparkling the right hand and less the rest. Try. And then the three and four finger, they are terrible, especially. Okay, you're putting, okay, if you want to change a finger, this is what is difficult there. In terms of sound, do it again. Pom, pom, less. Okay, very good, very good. You see, it sounds sparkling like champagne. Okay? So all this time when you're there, be careful with your left hand and just a little bit sparkling and change the fingering because put the first thumb on in the E and not third, okay? And we have the same. Do it from there. Yeah, I think, your fifth finger needs to move. And don't play with your arm. Yes. Okay, let's try. Okay. Less. Okay. You see, the sound is. Be careful with your pinky. It's not work. Be careful when you have to to ti to do dum to tim tim to dum po to dum ta ri ti to dum po to tom ti dum to dim po to tim ti to. Let's try this. To tom ti dum to. Yeah, but connecting to ti do to not ta ti da ta ra ta ti dum to ti ti to da ti ti ta. No, this is like children. Jump pom po. Again. What? To ti to ra to is not tora. To ti dum to rim pom po pom pom to yam ta tom ti dum. Now, repeat. Ta rim po to rum to rum to rum. Never two sounds the same. Pa, pa. Yes. Yeah, but it's not yum pam pa to ta ti dum ta dum ta ri ra ra rum ta yum pam pa rum pa ta rum pa. Where's the drawing of the phrase again? Tom ti dum ta rum to. Again. Tom ti dum ta rum. Rim ti to dum ta ta tum ta to ti dum to. Pedal. Rim tom tom to. Pedal. Sorry. Pedal. And then before you breathe with your foot. Ba-da-da-da. Okay? Top note. Okay, now let's start less. Again, less. Okay, you have to move your fingers. Now, don't make trill with your arm only. You need to do scales for. It will be very healthy for you. Okay, so look, I think we could be here for a long time, but delighted to work with all of you, the three of you. Very great pleasure. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best. Bravo. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.